carving through the briny deep like the ghostly gray battleships that come in and out of Yokosuka. It's DIA, or Dudes in Asia. What up, Dudemaniacs? As always, this is David Hayter.
And this is David Nguyen, aka Clayton Nigsby.
On episode 26 of DIA, we're continuing with our interview series. My homeboy from back in the day, Bruce, is gracing us with his presence. He was a sailor in the U.S. Navy and was stationed in Yokosuka after he got out of high school.
Yeah, Bruce is one of Hayter's boy from back in the day. I got the pleasure of meeting him a long time ago, but from what I remember, good people.
Yeah, so what up, Bruce? How's it going, man?
Doing all right. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited. I'm very stoked.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming in, dude. It was like very short notice.
Yeah,
it was.
Thanks for jumping on, man.
So, man, yeah, usually we talk about ourselves for a little bit, but today we just decided to skip all that. So, yeah, man, just tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey from Long Beach to Asia/Japan.
Yeah, well, as you guys mentioned already, David and I, Hayter and I, go way back to elementary school, right? Like third grade?
Dude. I think we had the same class in third grade, right?
Yeah. And, we just kind of grew up together, and then we went to different high schools. But high school came around, and one day I came home, and there were these Navy recruiters in my living room, and long story short, my parents were like, what are you going to do after school? And I was like, I'm going to go to college. And they were like, no, you're not. You're going in the Navy.
For real?
Yeah. So, yeah, I graduated high school, and my high school graduation party was the same as my going away party.
Oh, shit.
And within the week, I was gone to Great Lakes, Illinois for boot camp. And so I figured, I know there's a Navy base in San Diego. That's close to home, so I'll see if I can get orders there. So I got orders to Japan, because you never get what you want in the military.
Yeah, this is what you wanted? I'm going to make sure that's not happening.
As a young, angsty teenager, it felt like the end of the world, because I was thrust into another country and culture and language, and I didn't know what to do. So eventually I just sort of embraced it, and it was always something that you and I had sort of dabbled in, with import cars and import games and Japanese pro wrestling and anime and stuff. And so I was like, all right, well, this is going to be the opportunity for us to check this out, learn the language. I'm going to be here for 3 years. And, when you're 18, that's forever.
Yeah, man.
This is going to be the rest of my life for 3 years. And then by the time I was done, it wasn't long enough,
Yeah, for sure, man. So, yeah, when you were out here, where all did you get to go to, man? You get to travel around a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was stationed on a ship, or was attached to a ship. So every few months or so, they would be like, oh, we're going to go to a port visit. So I've been to 7 different coastal cities in Japan alone, including Osaka and Okinawa. Never went to Hokkaido, though. That's one of the things that I never got to check out. And then 4 different cities in Korea, Vladivostok, Russia.
Oh, yeah, I remember you telling me about that, dude.
Yeah, that place is a trip.
I think you said you got to take some pictures with some babies, right?
Yeah. They, I don't know if you guys talk about Russia on this, but it is technically
it's Asia. Man.
It is
go
Asia.
for it,
technically
dude.
It's Asia.
And this is about your experience in Asia, so it's cool, man.
I don't think they the people. It was a small town, small city or whatever. I don't think they have a lot of black people there, and I think they were just surprised to see not just U.S. sailors but black people. And so they all wanted to take pictures with me and my other shipmates, and so I'm holding there are pictures of me somewhere, me holding a baby and hugging somebody's daughter or whatever, and I end up trading my uniform hat for one of those furry Russian hats that they have,
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a good time there. And let's see, 2 different places in China, including Hong Kong, which is real cool. And Vietnam.
Oh, nice.
Vietnam. And we were the first, what was it? We were the first ship to go there since the Vietnam War without getting shot at or something like that. Like, something crazy.
When was this?
I want to say 2004? 2000.
Yeah, it was like right when they first started like trading relations and stuff again, right?
Yeah. But once again, it was like, you know, you think about how long it's been since the Vietnam War. There was a whole generation of people that, once again, had never seen Americans really, let alone sailors. You know, I mean, I'm sure that people would go there and visit and stuff, but like in mass, you know. So there was a lot of that, a lot more of that, you know, like, oh my God, you're different. And like, yeah, it's cool. Let's check out what you got. And so that was fun.
That's cool, man. Well, like outside of Japan, which spot do you think you like the most, dude?
Oh man. Outside of Japan, I probably have to say either Busan or Hong Kong.
Okay, nice, man. Was it just like the vibe of the spot, or like the kind of stuff you could do around there, or what?
Hong Kong, it definitely, it felt like a city, like a downtown. Like it was downtown. It was just a downtown area, and then you could take a ferry from the Wan Chai side to the Kowloon side, and it was like another half of the city over there. So it just felt very, I don't know, commercial, if that's how you want to say it. Like, it was a downtown area. It was like walking into downtown Chicago or downtown New York or whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of like developed like metropolitan. It's not like no backwoods BS.
Yeah, it was, you know, so it had its regular like city culture stuff, but it was different because it's, you know, a different country and stuff. And
For sure.
Busan was kind of, it wasn't as big, but it was kind of the same, and somehow they always knew that we were coming, so they would accommodate for us a lot. All of the bars had like special deals, and you know, it was a good time. There was a whole street of people where you could get like bootleg movies, and it was great.
For sure, dude. Sounds like good times, man.
Yeah.
So I know you kind of. Oh, you want to ask the next question, Dave?
Go ahead, bro.
All right, for sure, man. Yeah, I know you kind of touched on it before, of like about like how you ended up coming to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, how was your time like after getting like assigned to Japan? Like when you first got out here, like what was your experience like in Japan? You know, like early 2000s, like being like a teenage sailor.
I mean, it was just a huge, you know, as you can imagine, just a huge culture shock. There were just a lot of differences that you had to experience to know about. One of the things was like, I had to figure out how to take the trains, which is not really a big thing. In like Long Beach, they have the trains and stuff, but it's not a big thing over here as it is over there. But then once you figure out the train system, it's like, oh man, this is the most efficient thing I've ever been on in my life. I don't need a car ever.
Yeah, man.
You're never any farther than like a 10-15 minute walk from where you need to go. It's so great.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the things, like once you figure out the train system, you could just navigate wherever you need to go. Another thing was getting to a train station. One time I had to walk down this dark alley at like 10 o'clock at night. So I was like, oh. And then I saw someone at the end of the dark alley, and I'm like, oh man, who is that? And then it was this little like 7-8-year-old girl with a Hello Kitty backpack. And that's when I realized, like, it's a really safe place if like these, you know, just little children can walk around at night and nobody really, you know, minds, because there's, you know, low crime. So it's just those things that like are you know, like I said, you have to experience them to really understand.
So Bruce, when you're usually stationed somewhere, like I guess Russia, Japan, or Korea, like how long do you like usually stay there? Just depends.
Well, okay. So our official base was Yokosuka, and so we just sort of go to port visits. So those visits will be between 3 and 5 days So not too long, but also not, we're not overstaying our welcome, but not like so short that you don't really get to experience much. So everybody gets about 2 days to enjoy it, because there's a rotation where, depending on how long you're going to be there, a third of the people have to be security for the ship. It's not like a car where you can just sort of, put a security system on it and everybody walks away from it. Like, people have to man
turn on the alarm.
People have to man the ramp up to it and topside watch, So whenever we go somewhere for like 3 days, usually one of those days you'll have to sort of sacrifice so everybody else can go have fun, but then you get like another 2 days to go hang out and do stuff.
Nice. That's cool.
So a lot of those places
right
were,
on, man.
No less than 2 days, sometimes up to about 4 days.
Not too bad. Any like difficulties when you guys came out here besides culture shock?
How do you mean difficulties? Like,
I don't know, like just things you encounter that would be kind of just challenging or just making you out of your comfort zone besides the culture shock?
It depends on who you ask, really. I'm pretty open to like. I've always been pretty open to experiencing different cultures and learning about other people's histories and stuff. I unfortunately know a lot of people who aren't. People that are very ignorant and naive and think that everyone in Asia is the same. People that are like, oh, so you were in China, and when you're stationed over in China. Like, no, I was in Japan. Like, oh, well, it's the same thing. No, man, it's not. It's definitely not the same thing. What are you talking about? So for me, knowing the difference and respecting that difference, it was nice to be able to go to those different places and see what was different about them. Mm-hmm. But as far as difficulty, sometimes some of the places that I went to weren't really that great. They were just random places, like Donghae, Korea. It was just kind of a nothing town. It's like pulling into San Pedro, pretty much. It's just like a dock and dock workers, and then like I don't even think we found a bar. We had to look for a liquor store to buy something to drink. And then we walked around with it, and we were like, yeah, this place is not great.
Damn, son.
So finding the stuff to do, that's probably, I would say that was probably the difficulty.
Okay. But then too, like, I think that's part of just like, the times back then, like, like you're lucky to have like internet, right? Like on the ship. Like, it's not like people just have like smartphones and you could just get everything you want like instantly,
Yeah, I mean, there's really no Wi-Fi in the middle of the ocean, mm-hmm. It either works or it doesn't, and it doesn't really have much to do with being in Asia, but I would try and take online classes, and those classes would require you to log in and participate a certain number of times a week. And if the internet's down for 5 days a week, then you can't really do it, and you're just, SOL.
Yeah.
But, you try and look ahead and do your research and say, what is there to do in, X city? And if you can't find it online, then you try and walk around for half the day looking for whatever there is fun, and interesting. Try and find, like, history areas and cultural areas and restaurants to try new foods. And sometimes you go the wrong way and you just can't find anything.
For sure, man. But yeah, like thinking about your time in the Navy and like, being stationed in Yokosuka, like, I don't know, what was like your typical day like, because I feel like that's why it's kind of different doing military, is that like you're in another country, but then you're still surrounded by like Americans most of the time, right?
Yeah. Well, in Yokosuka, it's very much like a base city. Like everything outside the base is very catered to Americans and sailors. So, right outside the base, you have which I talked to you about before, Dobuita Street,
Oh yeah.
which is we call the Haunch. You know, if you ever played Shenmue on what was it, PlayStation 2? Or was it PlayStation 1?
The first one was Dreamcast.
Right?
Oh, it was
Yeah.
Dreamcast, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm looking for some sailors.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually watched somebody go back and play through it, and they're asking questions like, who would hang out in a bar like this? And I'm like, sailors. Sailors would hang out at a bar like this.
That's fantastic, man.
And everything just looks so familiar. And outside of that, like either side of that there are 2 train stations. And then outside of that, everything is pretty much normal like you would expect. But your daily thing would be you go on base, show your, military ID, get to your ship by a certain time, and then just do your job until
Yeah.
4 or 5 o'clock. And then you go home, you leave the base, walk to the train station, and then go, whatever your stop is.
Okay.
There's really nothing different other than, you're working around Americans.
Yeah. Well, I remember like somebody posted something on Facebook, it was like in one of the English teaching things. And somebody's like, man, your life must be so incredible. You get to work in Japan and blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, it's cool sometimes, but, mostly I just go to work and then I come home and I'm just tired and I go to sleep.
Job's a job everywhere, right?
As
Yeah,
you
exactly.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't know, man. I think we're getting towards the end of the program here. You got anything else you wanted to add on to that, Bruce?
No, I mean, unless you have other questions, I could probably talk for hours about myself.
Yeah. That's cool, man. Maybe we'll have you on another time, dude. We'll get into some like crazy stories or whatever,
That would be a good
whatever
one.
you'd like to divulge.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
that would be a good one.
Oh, man, that's going to be a not safe for work episode.
For sure, man.
I was already
Well,
trying
that-
pretty hard not to, divulge too many details.
I think we're gonna share like deep dark secrets about Asia. We could bring Bruce and VC on the show.
I mean, it won't be Bruce in VC. It'll be like my other homeboy, like GC, and the other guy Spruce. I don't know who these people are.
It'll just be Rico Jr., and then you can do that little voice modulation thing.
Like Rico Jr., say what up to him. What up, peoples?
So
right,
yeah,
man.
I think at least one listening is like any advice for people who would consider going to Asia that haven't been out there. Like, why you think Asia's pretty cool or not so cool?
To give somebody advice, who we'll say that is there, whether or not they want to be there, is don't do the typical American stuff. When I first got there, I didn't really know how to get anywhere or whatever, so people took me out, and the first place we went was TGI Fridays in Yokohama. And I was like super disappointed, but I couldn't say anything about it because it's like, well, if they get mad and I can't get back, then that's, I'm screwed. So I went to a TGI Fridays, and then like they were the only people that I knew. So the next time we went out, we went to, one of them wanted to go to a McDonald's or something, and I was like, man, I can't hang out with these guys anymore. I want some ramen or some sushi or something, like
At least something, right?
something. let me get in there and let me get all the food, and I mean, I know I had like 3 years to experience it, but I don't want to go all the way to Japan for Fridays.
Yeah, dude.
So yeah, my advice would be, experience everything. Don't,
Nice.
you're already outside of your comfort zone physically. Go outside your comfort zone culinarily. Is that a word?
Yeah. Culinarily, gastronomically.
Gastronomically, culturally. Yeah, experience things that you never have
Nice.
so that you can, tell people more than just, well, I went to a Fridays in Japan.
Had some McDonald's.
Yeah. I went to Universal Studios in Japan. All right, good. Thanks.
For sure, man. I think that's a good place to leave it there, man. So, that does it for another fresh episode of Dudes in Asia. thanks again to the homie Bruce for coming on the show.
Thanks
I
for
remember
having
when
me,
you first
guys.
came out to Japan. Oh yeah, no sweat, dude. It was kind of crazy, and like now I'm out here, and then we're gonna sync up again pretty soon. So
How
looking
soon?
forward to it.
How soon?
I get to see you in a week.
Oh, that's fast.
Basically,
No
yeah.
wonder
By
you're
the
busy.
time this airs, he'll be in the Heezy,
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show, Bruce, man. We always love to interview people on how Asia impacted their lives. Come back anytime, my bro. Anyways, this is Clayton Dugsby signing out. Be sure to check out our blog at dudesinasia.blogspot.com or hit us up on Facebook at facebook.com/dudesinasia.
If you want to follow me on Twitter, search for @DavidHater. That's @DavidHater. Peace out.
Peace out, y'all.
Bye.